Here's the thing. Birds are real, and it's mean to say that they're not.
Back for another episode. We are trying something out here. We're trying out a Wednesday release time. So let us know how that's going. Last week's episode, first time we tried it out, so numbers a little lower than maybe they sometimes are, but maybe that catches up on Monday. Who knows?
Yeah, adjust your schedules. Be on the lookout. Don't wake up Monday morning disappointed that there's not a new Birds Are Real podcast episode out. Just shift your schedules to Wednesday morning. You have a new thing to look forward to.
Exactly. Hump day, middle of the week, you're probably down, nothing to look forward to for the rest of the week. Well, guess what? Now you got something to look forward to.
Exactly. This will get you through until you hit the weekend.
We're actually doing a service for you by doing this.
Yeah, this was definitely not to help our schedules at all. We're thinking about you.
Oh yeah, all we ever do is think about the listener.
Yeah, enough with the chit chat. Let's just get right into the field notes here.
Yeah, enough with the chit chat. Let's start chit chatting.
Yeah, I think the major field note that we have is the fact that we've tried to see a woodcock many a time.
Everyone's waiting. Everybody is waiting on an update. I know. We heard it a couple weeks ago. We heard it again. So we went out multiple times. We finally found this place that people were talking about where you have to go to see woodcocks. It's near John Hines.
Yeah, you have to go past the downed sticks, past the downed trees. You got to go past the burnt car, and then through some trees and some thickets, and then you're there.
Yeah, you're just standing on an abandoned street corner with a burned out car next to you. There's a broken toilet on the ground a couple feet away, and so we just stood there and listened. Hoped we found something because apparently this is where everyone goes. Which
is weird to think about, who decided to bird here in the first place?
Yeah, how did they ever find it?
And why is it good for birding?
I know. And, specifically woodcocks, I think. Because, if you look on eBird, there's not too many other birds that are found there.
Not at all. There is a woodcock valley. Woodcock alley that we found. Maybe we should have tried there. Anyway.
We were unsuccessful.
Heard it plenty of times. Unsuccessful in spotting it. It is getting close to the end of its season. It's only around for a month, maybe a month and a half-ish in this area.
Yeah, so it seems likely that we unfortunately missed it.
There's a slight chance, very slight chance we still see it.
There's a slight chance, and we'll take that chance. We'll do what we can. But we've spent a rainy night standing next to the abandoned car, the burnt-out car. We spent a dark, cold morning standing next to the burnt-out car.
Yeah, the woodcocks are active dawn and dusk, so we even got there pre-sunrise.
Yeah. And
stayed pretty late, but haven't seen the little guys yet.
No luck. So we're hopeful that perhaps next season we can take maybe a more experienced birder with us, someone who has seen these woodcocks and knows where to look. 'Cause we could be looking in the wrong place, There is a broken toilet next to where we are standing and looking. So
we are 100% hearing them, though. We're in the general area for sure.
We have heard them. Just haven't seen them.
And they have a pretty distinct
meh.
You can't miss them.
No.
But we did. So what else have we been seeing? Today, actually, we saw some wood ducks.
We did.
Perching in some trees.
We saw wood ducks in trees.
Very cool.
We got a couple pictures. The pictures are not the best. Might still post them just to show that we saw it.
Yeah. I mean, it was a pretty gloomy day today, right at sunrise, so the light wasn't the best. And they were a lot higher up than we thought.
They were so high.
We really had to just we're basically looking straight up.
Yeah, up where you'd normally see a woodpecker or something.
Yeah.
So very cool, but they, even when they're way up there, they're so wary of people. They just flew off. We didn't even get within 20 feet of the base of the tree, and they were another 40 feet up the tree.
Yeah, I think they felt safe enough for a bit, and then we took a few more steps forward and they dipped. So they're very flitty bird.
A lot of wood ducks though today, just out and about on the water in some more trees. We went for a run at John Hines, which I had never done. Kesh had tried once. I
tried once, and I went out a little too hot and had to walk a bit.
So Kesh had to run with me and producer Rochelle, so we could hold him back, run a lot slower.
Exactly. It's fun to run with friends, especially if you can't pace yourself like me. They keep you on pace, you know.
I will say, having now run at John Hines officially, birding's a lot better. That sucked.
I think we can do a little bit of both. Running at John Hines is very pretty. It's a nice just over a 5K. You get to see the whole loop. You do get a little bit of FOMO though when you run. Like we saw some interesting looking ducks. We weren't sure what they were. Maybe some blue-winged teals.
Maybe some teals. It was right around where we saw the teals that one time.
Yeah, but we're not running with our binoculars or our enormous cameras, so we'll never know what that duck was.
We will never know. We've been seeing the osprey a lot. There's an osprey that's been coming by and kind of been posing for us really nicely. So he comes by basically every time we're there. Yeah,
the carp are spawning kind of like crazy in the Darby Creek. So the ospreys are aware and they're in the area.
Yeah, they're taking advantage of that. And one I think really cool thing we saw today, I guess not really cool depending on what you think is cool, but it'd been a while since we saw these guys. Cormorants. Lots of cormorants.
Yeah, a good amount. They're always bigger than I think they are, yeah.
I thought it was a loon for half a second, but,
Also quite a flitty bird. We didn't get anywhere close to it, and it decided it needed to go. Seeing more herons, always nice.
Yeah, the great blues are coming back out. We see them perched up in their tree that we've talked about a couple times. I'm looking forward to the day when the green herons come back. One of my goals last season was to find and get a nice picture of a green heron. It just always eluded me, but there were a lot of green herons at Hines. I just could never get them. But now got a longer lens, a little more experienced with birding. I think might be able to get a nice picture of a green heron when they come back.
Nice. Yeah, I'm really excited for the peep photography. Didn't have the long lens at the time, and yeah, excited to see what we can get. All right, and with that, we move on to our hoot topics.
We got a couple fun ones this week.
Yeah, some very fun ones.
Similar to all the other weeks, we always have fun ones. You're great at sending us hoot topics.
Yeah, so first one's coming from Muha. He said, "Hey, when I was in Bangladesh, I heard and recorded this bird sound. My brother said it was the Asian warbler. I've got no clue. Can you guys let me know what it is? And wanted to let y'all know someone all the way in Bangladesh is thinking about you guys."
Call us Pitbull, because we're worldwide,
Mr.
baby.
Worldwide over here, yes.
Thanks, Muha, for the question. It was a really good one and kind of a challenge for us because we're so focused on North American birds that we can find here. And that's kind of doubled by the fact that the apps that we have, Merlin, eBird, things like that, you have to download region-specific packs. So we only had the North American packs downloaded, specifically even the East Coast packs
right,
downloaded.
Exactly. Because there's a lot of variation between East Coast birds, Midwest birds, Rocky Mountain, West Coast. So yeah, we don't have every single bird downloaded onto our database in Merlin.
So yeah, it was a call we'd never heard before, but why don't we play it for the listeners?
Yeah. So that's the recording Muha sent us. Pretty crisp recording, if I do say so myself. Yeah.
If you do say you didn't take it.
Wait, that's fair. But yeah, it was a challenge because, of course, we're not familiar with the birds out there.
Really liked that call though. It's really nice.
Yeah, it is really nice. Very pleasant. Did quite a bit of searching on our own at first. It was very difficult to narrow it down just based on the resource that we have, Merlin, BirdNet. We tried to upload the recording, and these apps they really couldn't figure out what the bird sound was.
Yeah.
I think sometimes they just really need super, super crisp recordings. And, there was some background noise. So sometimes these apps can't get it done.
And we didn't have the packs downloaded. So I think even if it was a perfect recording, it wouldn't be able to pick it up.
Yeah, that's true.
So we tried Googling Asian warbler call. Turns out there's nothing necessarily just called Asian warbler. There's the Asian desert warbler. We listened to that. It's not what we were looking for. So we turned to alternative means.
We turned to the community, the Discord community. I posted the recordings in Discord. And I was like, hey, we got a friend in Bangladesh. He recorded these. Anyone have any clue what these are? And literally within a minute...
It was so fast.
Someone was like, don't know the exact species, but sounds like a barbet or a barbet. And then, after we got that huge lead, we did some we did some research on eBird. We started listening to all the barbet calls in the northern India, Bangladesh area, and we landed on the blue-throated barbet. It's an exact match.
Exact match. Yeah, perfect. Like even like sometimes birds they'll have a call. Then you listen to the recording, it's at like a slightly different pitch. Maybe they're singing in a different key. This was the exact same pitch, exact same key. It was pretty great.
Yeah, very, very pretty bird, by the way.
Yeah, amazing looking bird.
But yeah, Muha, there's your answer. The blue-throated barbet.
Yeah, and that was fun. Sent us on a bit of a, detective task. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it just goes to show that some of these people with their bird calls are so impressive. Like, this guy didn't know exactly what bird it was, but he knew it was in the barbet family. Mm-hmm. And
the barbet calls don't sound all that similar to each other.
Yeah, because we played a few just to make sure we were getting the right one, and they all sound pretty distinct.
Yeah, so this guy was just like, oh yeah, I heard that probably like 15 years ago. It's just stored in my memory database. This is a barbet.
Yeah, and it's not like he even used any tools to because he literally replied
couldn't have had time
in like a minute. And he was like, yeah, it's probably a barbet, not sure what. Very impressive.
Yeah, it's who I'm trying to be when I grow up.
I know, we keep saying we're going to study these calls and we never do. So maybe someday. But some of these birders out there, man, they're just
real impressive.
They're super duper impressive. And as we're recording, I'm looking at my phone. Another person replied and said, I was just in that part of the world, so these vocalizations are fresh in my mind, and confirmed that they are both blue-throated barbets.
Wow, nice.
Yeah.
This is great. This is just the Pennsylvania birding Discord too. So a lot of world travelers around here.
Yeah, if you're even slightly into birding, try to join your local Discord or GroupMe or whatever. There's a wealth of knowledge in there.
Yeah, and there's like, at least ours has these channels dedicated towards obviously finding out bird calls, which we just explained. Bird ID help if you have pictures of the bird or if you just have a description of the bird. And it's really helpful. People respond right away. They normally don't make you feel too stupid. They're normally pretty nice about it. Sometimes people will be like, that's not a cackling goose. What are you talking about? And I've already put cackling goose into my Merlin life list, and I don't know how to get it off, but what are you going to do?
Yeah.
All right. On to our second hoot topic of the day. This one comes from an anonymous listener. It could be you if you sent in a hoot topic and you didn't want us to say your name. It's a pretty fun one. Similar to one we did way back in season 1, but with a bit of a twist here. So the task here is to draft a basketball team, a starting 5 of a basketball team using random birds. So what I've done is I've randomly selected 10 birds from my handy Sibley Guide to Birds handbook, 2nd edition. Very much recommend. This kind of changed the way I was able to identify birds, honestly. And I have compiled them into a list. Kesh and I are going to draft them schoolyard pick'em style, one by one, until we have a starting 5. So, Kesh, I'm going to read you the list. He has not heard these yet, so this is
I've not.
for the first time.
I need to keep all 10 of these in my mind.
Yep. First, swallowtail kite. Second, least bittern. Third, trumpeter swan. Fourth, the barn swallow. Next, short-tailed albatross. After that, we have the Lapland longspur. Coming up next, the yellow-green vireo, something we might be seeing pretty soon with warbler season coming up. After that, we have the great gray owl. I think that one's going to be going pretty early, but we'll see. Up next, the common nighthawk. Listen to the Halloween episode if you're unfamiliar with that one. And rounding out our pool of players, the chipping sparrow.
Interesting draft class this year.
I will let you have the first pick.
Oh, let me have the first pick, eh? Mm-hmm. All right. A lot of interesting choices here. We already mentioned it. The great gray owl stands out. Probably the coolest bird on this list. But I'm just going to go with someone with some good fundamentals. Someone who's a presence on the court. I'm going to go with the trumpeter swan.
Wow, all right.
The largest bird in North America. Both the heaviest and the longest wingspan.
Yeah, literally should not be able to fly, but can.
Exactly. I'm thinking kind of a Jokic vibe. Does things, shouldn't be able to. Yeah. Very territorial.
Good call.
So, yeah, my first pick, trumpeter swan.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I think in that vein, if you're following the NBA this season, the MVP race is between two very impressive players, Jokic and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who is known for being really shifty, being able to change direction really quickly, go back and forth. I think no one here does that better than the barn swallow. So that's going to be my first pick.
It's true.
Yeah.
Doesn't have much size though. So
Not much
all I'm
size.
saying. All I'm saying.
But I mean, it can get around it. Hard to defend. We know hard to find, hard to get a picture.
That's so true. Well, I mean, if this is just gonna fall in my lap, I'm just gonna take the great gray owl. You know, very quiet, an intimidating presence. You know, I haven't watched the Last Dance yet, but it seems like the vibe is MJ goes onto the court, the other team's intimidated. That's what I'm getting from the great gray owl here, and I think the 1 and the 2. I don't know how you're gonna beat this, man.
I mean, I think I have to combat that with a bird of prey of my own. So I'm going to snatch up the swallowtail kite.
It's a good pick. Good pick.
Yeah. It's, according to allaboutbirds.org, the swallow-tailed kite has been called the coolest bird on the planet. So need I say more?
I'm getting a little Steph Curry vibe from it. I'm not gonna lie.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe an unpopular pick here next, but I kind of I like it. I'll go with the common nighthawk.
Common nighthawk. I was hoping to get the common nighthawk. It's a good pick.
Yeah, it's a bird that uses camouflage very well. I feel like it's going to play off the ball pretty well, slip through the defense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll go with the common nighthawk.
Yeah, nice Klay Thompson role, kind of.
Exactly.
All right. Well, I feel like my team might need a little defense, maybe a little pesky defense. So I'm thinking the chipping sparrow. It's that thing, it'll get in your head. You won't want to play against it. It'll bait you into making silly mistakes, kind of annoy you, like all over the place. What are you doing? Like a Pat Bev sort of vibe, you know, Pat Beverly.
Yeah. Wasn't expecting this to drop this far. I'm gonna go with the short-tailed albatross.
Yeah.
It's another. I'm beating you in the size game here for sure.
You are for sure.
It's albatrosses known for their expansive wingspan, large bird.
Good endurance on that bird.
True, large migration for that bird. So good point there.
Which I mean, that might help out more during like soccer season. You know what I mean? Basketball, it's a lot of short back and forth. I don't know if the albatross is what you want.
I don't know, man. Our game could go into OT. I need someone with that energy in OT.
That's true. Well, I think I need someone who has like the vision. You know what I mean? I have some aggressive characters here. I have some aggressive players. I need someone who's gonna like wait. A role player who's going to wait, find his spots, pick his spots, but then just sink it like consistently. For me, that's the least bitter.
Nice.
You know?
I was wondering when the least bitter was going to be picked.
In the heron family, often seen just standing completely still, waiting till no one expects it, and then striking. So I think that's what my team needs.
I think I can't really go wrong with either of these last two options here, the Lapland Longspur or the yellow-green vireo. They're both small birds, which is going to help me contest with your small, fast birds. I'll go with the, because its name sounds similar to a soccer team that I like, Tottenham Hotspur. I'm going to go with the Lapland Longspur.
All right. Again, going with a soccer pick here. I don't know if that's going to work out
I don't think that albatross is a soccer pick.
All right. Well, then the yellow-green vireo falls into my lap. Like we mentioned, kind of a smaller bird, but one that I think, easily overlooked, but kind of bright, shining in its own right. It sets itself apart from the warblers that you might get confused with. And I really think it's just the team's going to rally around this guy. He's just a hard worker, maybe doesn't have the best natural talent, but he made it to the NBA, so he had to work twice as hard. I'm thinking like Isaiah Thomas sort of vibe. Like those teams when Isaiah was cooking, like they were good.
I hear what you're saying. You're getting destroyed. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to say.
My team's definitely an underdog here, but I think we're gonna function together as a team a little better. I gotta say. I don't know. Not as many big personalities clashing.
All right. Well, hey, I don't think we're going to agree here. Let's leave it to the listeners.
Yeah.
Let us know who wins.
Yeah. Let us know whose team you think is going to win in a best of 7 series. We'll say it's like the NBA Finals.
Sure.
Here.
Yeah. Yep. I can take that.
All right.
Speaking of that, we see the numbers. We know you guys are listening.
We do.
A lot of you are listening. So send us in some Hoot topics.
Yeah.
Like, what are you waiting for?
Here's the thing. As you can see, maybe from this basketball one, it doesn't even really have to be about birds.
Yeah.
You can ask us what shows we're watching. You can ask us anything. And if it's about birds, great. If it's not, yeah, we know that you like listening to us. You're like our friends, right? We're parasocially connected. Yes. So
yeah, very healthy relationship.
Exactly.
So yeah, send us in some Hoot topics. We're running a little bit low.
Yeah. So you can email us, birdsarereal.pod@gmail.com. And I know what you're thinking. okay, they're saying they want emails, but they don't want one from me. Like, that's embarrassing if I email. No, it's not. I understand that because I feel the same way whenever someone asks for emails or questions or things like that. People just like it. We just like it. So even if you don't know us personally, even if you don't think you have a really good question, give it a shot. What do you have to lose?
If you don't want your name out there, just let us know you want to be anonymous. We respect that here.
Yeah.
And yeah, looking forward to hearing from all of you.
Mm-hmm. If you don't like email, you can also direct message Rochelle at Birds Are Real Pod on Instagram.
So, as many of you know, this is a podcast about birds and bird-adjacent topics.
Mm-hmm.
The main topic today definitely leans more towards the bird-adjacent side of things, but I think everyone's going to find it informative and entertaining. A lot of what I'm going to talk about today, I learned from Heaven and Earth, which is a collection of studies and essays published by the Oriental Institute of the University of Chicago and some other websites and whatnot.
Sure. Academic research you've done.
Yeah, I didn't read the whole book or anything like that. Just pick and chose some of the ones I thought were cool. Without beating too much around the bush, this episode's going to be about birds in Egyptian mythology.
Ooh, birds in Egyptian mythology. Brings me back to elementary school days, the Scholastic Book Fair.
Mm-hmm.
If you came back from that thing with the big old Egyptology book, you were the talk of the town.
Yeah, I probably either faking a memory or vaguely remembering a Magic Treehouse book that was set in ancient Egypt. Probably
sure
talked about some birds.
Yep, lots of good birds in the ancient Egypt mythology catalog to pull from. So I'm excited to hear where this goes.
We'll definitely get into it. But first things first, what do you know about ancient Egypt or ancient Egypt mythology? Anything ring a bell?
Well, I'm trying to think back. This was a topic, one of these topics where looking back, very interesting that it was kind of universally, at least in the United States, part of the core curriculum of stuff you went over in, I don't know, elementary school, middle school.
Yeah. Just
kind of in there. And honestly, the things that stick out to me most come from this book series that was, The Lightning Thief. That book series. That author, I never have known how to say his last name.
Rick Riordan.
Riordan, I don't know what it is.
Whatever.
But he made another series about Egyptian mythology.
I didn't know that. I never read that one, though.
I read at least one of those books, and I remember a lot about Ra. Ra was a very important figure.
Ra is important, yes. Ra is also important in Yu-Gi-Oh! which is a cartoon heavily inspired by Egyptian mythology. There was that one Jimmy Neutron episode about Egypt. Remember that one?
Right.
That was pretty sick.
Libby had a makeover.
Yeah, Libby became Cleopatra.
Yeah, that's right.
Cleopatra is actually closer to today, the computer age, technology, all that, than she was to when the pyramids were constructed.
Really?
Isn't that interesting? She was 30 BC, 50 BC compared to now. And I mean, it's close. And the pyramids, I think, were 2 to 3,000 BC, somewhere around there.
Interesting. That's later than I thought for Cleopatra. You know?
Right. Very recent woman in history.
Yeah. Very cool.
So, did kind of talk about some mythology during the Corvid episode, and I prefaced that a little bit with what birds represent.
Yeah. In
terms of culture or in a religious sense. And I do want to preface that again a little bit here, just so we can keep that in mind as we listen to some stories about Egyptian mythology. What comes to mind to you in terms of what birds symbolize in some religions or some cultures?
Right. I mean, we talked even last episode about the dove, the Noah's Ark dove, kind of symbolizing peace, hope, things like that. Obviously, we had Odin's 2 ravens, which were kind of his messengers, his eyes and ears. And I think just generally birds are kind of reverent figures because they do fly above us, right? And they do these things that we as humans just are incapable of doing. So I think there's often just kind of this reverence about them, but also I think some mistrust sometimes, especially of maybe birds of prey, or we talked about crows and ravens and stuff. Yeah,
very, very great point. A lot of the overarching themes, such as flight, perception, things like that, I think depending on the culture and the religion we're talking about, those qualities or those aspects can be interpreted differently. But for the sake of Egyptian mythology, I do want to highlight flight as kind of a transcendence to a higher plane or an ascension. Vision You mentioned like Odin's ravens being very perceptive.
Right.
But I think it can also be interpreted as kind of a protective force because you're overseeing everything, all-seeing, and wisdom associated with like seeing everything.
Sure. Right. I feel like when I think of Egyptian mythology and birds, and I haven't done any of this research, so I don't know like basically anything, but I normally think of birds of prey as like imagery that they use, which would I think work well with like the keen eyesight as well as like protection.
Definitely. At least one bird of prey here, but definitely some interesting other birds, which I do appreciate from the ancient Egyptians. And lastly, rebirth. Bird lays an egg.
Nice.
Kind of cycle, like kind of thing. So those are maybe just some things to keep in mind as I talk about a creation story.
All right.
Yeah, so I'm just going to go over this creation story because it's hard to discuss only the bird gods in isolation. Like
Right.
they are part of like a larger, I don't know if pantheon's the right word, that's for Greek, but a larger pantheon of gods and goddesses. So yeah, first there was a noon, an infinite expanse of dark primordial waters.
Ooh.
You ever had an experience with dark primordial waters?
Can't say that I have. Can't say that I especially want to.
Oh, there was this one time. I was in maybe like 10 years old or something. I was in the Six Flags New England wave pool. You know, I was a fine swimmer, decent swimmer. And then you know how it kind of like drops off into like the shallow end to the deep end?
Yep.
My cousin was like, let's go into the deep end. I was like, are you sure you can do it? And she was like, yeah, I can do it. So we both take the step off into the deep end. She sinks immediately, grabs me down.
Oh no.
My life is flashing before my eyes. Everything slows down, and she's pushing me down as they you know teach you like don't jump in if someone's drowning because they're just gonna drown you too.
Yeah.
And then like I just reach my hand out and like I'm sinking into the deep dark abyss, and then the lifeguard saves us, and it was great.
Wow. Shout out that lifeguard.
Yeah, they're paying attention, and I'm glad they were.
That's good. Yeah.
So yeah, the infinite expanse of dark primordial waters existed before the world as we knew even came to be. Out of the noon, a mound emerged. A hill even. A knoll, if you will.
Oh, wow. Was it grassy?
No, it wasn't grassy. And atop this, a moon came into being.
Oh. Okay, I know a little bit more. This is embarrassing. The only ancient Egyptian mythology knowledge I have comes from Rick Riordan books and from the comic book Moon Knight, but
Oh, the Marvel guy, right? I don't know much
Yep.
about Marvel, but
Yeah.
is that like a Egyptian thing, Moon Knight?
Moon Knight, yeah, yeah. I don't know how accurate it is, but they do reference Egyptian gods and stuff in it.
Interesting. Anyway, a moon then created Shu and Tefnut. Shu became the god of air, and Tefnut became the goddess of moisture. And we're basically going down a family tree here. With each part of the family tree, we're kind of creating the world and different facets of it, right? So in the
Nice.
beginning, it's just the very basics. Air, moisture. So yeah, a moon who came to being by themselves, then created Shu and Tefnut. How did Atum create Shu and Tefnut, you might ask? It is unclear. Maybe somewhat purposefully. So from what I've read, it's kind of like a play on words, kind of punny. Some translate it in a way that Atum sneezed and or spat
Nice.
and then created them. Maybe like the sneezing, air, spit, moisture. Not
yeah.
sure if
Well,
that's the connection there.
Combination, yeah.
Others say Atum created them via self-pleasure.
Oh, interesting. Good.
So yeah, there's just different ways to think about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, Shu and Tefnut, they were the first pair of gods, and they had some children of their own. They had Geb and Nut.
Is that a second nut?
The second Nut. First was Tefnut. This is Nut.
Ah, okay.
Geb represents the earth, created the earth. The earth wasn't even around
Oh, wow.
before these guys were doing their thing.
Sneezing and moisture was around. No earth.
Exactly. So Geb creates the earth, and Nut, or maybe it's Newt, the sky. Newt and Geb then have 4 children of their own. I think fair to point out at this point, they're all siblings.
Yeah, but that's just the thing with gods, right? They're always like,
a lot of interbreeding there.
yeah, they're like, they're beyond us, so the rules are
It's
different.
true. Maybe it's like okay
I know,
because they're like ascended beings.
yeah.
And we're not even done yet. So the 4 children of Newt and Geb include Osiris.
I've heard of that one.
Do you know what they're the god of?
I was going to say the moon, but we already have one of those.
The god of fertility and the afterlife.
Oh, okay.
Then we have Isis.
Also heard of that one.
So did you read these Rick Riordan books?
I did, because I think this is how I've heard of all these, but I have very vague memories of them.
Gotcha. Isis, the goddess of motherhood and magic.
Okay.
Seth, the god of chaos and storms.
Ooh.
And Nephthys, the goddess of protection.
Oh, that's a good one.
I'm not going to point out to you which of these gods are associated with birds or not, because I'm going to have you guess after after I describe their stories and their characteristics.
Great. I will keep that in mind.
So yeah, the reason Atum made all of these deities was to hold back the destructive forces of chaos and keep the universe in balance.
What about the chaos god?
That's a good point. Yeah, we'll see that Seth creates a little more havoc later.
Okay.
But maybe it's all a part of the grand plan.
Nice.
So yeah, the purpose of creating the deities was aimed at keeping Ma'at, another god, the personification of order and truth, alive. And yeah, if you're somewhat well-versed in Egyptian mythology, you might have heard a similar creation story with these deities having different names. That's because this story is told differently in different major cities within the ancient Egyptian civilization. The story that I'm telling with these names for the gods is the Heliopolitan story from Heliopolis.
Oh.
But there are other versions coming from different major cities such as Hermopolis, Thebes, and Memphis.
And Memphis. Wow.
Memphis, Tennessee.
Shout out Tennessee. You're doing it for a while here.
Yeah. Hope you're keeping up. I know I'm going through a lot of names here. But Osiris, the god of fertility and the afterlife, son of Nut and Geb, then married Isis, his sister, to be clear, and ruled over Egypt over a long period of peace and prosperity. This is where Seth comes in, the god of chaos and storms. Yeah, jealousy overcame Seth because, that's what happens.
Yep, third child syndrome.
Exactly. And he killed Osiris by dismembering him
Ooh.
and scattering his body parts across the land.
Ooh, that's tough. Like Exodia.
Huh, maybe. Yu-Gi-Oh! Was kind of sick, dude, if you think about it.
I know. Yeah.
Isis and Nephthys is the fourth child, then searched for and collected the pieces of Osiris. And then, with the help of Thoth, new god introduced, just to keep us all on track here, the god of wisdom and writing, and Anubis, the god of funerary rites and the guide to the underworld.
Anubis I know.
Yeah, Anubis is pretty well known.
Lucario is based off Anubis.
Lucario is based off Anubis. Oh, since you already know Anubis, I'll just spoil it here for the listeners. Anubis is depicted as having the head of a jackal. So kind of like a cat kind of thing. So not a bird.
Dog?
Dog. Yeah, kind of a dog. So not a bird. But yeah, so with Isis and Nephthys, who collected the body parts of Osiris, with the help of Thoth and Anubis, they reconstructed Osiris. Osiris then impregnated Isis, and then was too weak to remain in the land of the living. So then he traveled to the land of the dead and became its lord, the lord of the dead.
Ah, well, he was already kind of the god of the afterlife, so I guess that's a fitting career change.
Exactly. Seth... So after Osiris' death, Isis had to go into hiding. Isis is pregnant at this point. Had to go into hiding, and Seth became the ruler of Egypt.
Osiris was all that was holding them back.
Yeah, Osiris is pretty strong, dude.
Oh, yeah,
I don't know.
true.
I guess
Yeah.
so. God of fertility, mind you. Think about that.
Right.
Isis then gave birth to Horus. You know Horus.
Oh, I do know Horus. Yeah, very important in the Rick Riordan books.
Good, because he's important in a lot of ancient Egyptian mythology. So yeah, Horus, also known as the god of kingship and protection.
Oh.
So as his name suggests, he grew under the care of Isis and then challenged Seth for the throne. It was a violent battle. All the other 8 gods from the family tree that I originally mentioned got together and decided on the victor. It was Geb who acted as the judge, Geb being the god of the earth, who acted as a judge and declared Horus the victor.
Way to go, Horus.
Way to go, Horus. Horus became the ruler of Egypt and, goddess of kingship and all that. And all pharaohs are thought to be descendants of Horus and therefore have the right to rule.
Ah, okay. That makes sense.
Cool. So that's where this portion of the creation story ends. So now I'm going to quiz you a little bit.
Okay.
We're going to go through some of these gods that are birds, and I'm going to have you try to figure out what bird represents them.
Nice. Okay.
Based on their qualities, based on what you know from your prior knowledge of the Rick Riordan books. And for the listeners, you can picture a lot of these ancient Egyptian deities with human bodies, like human hands, arms, torso, legs, but the head is that of an animal, in this case, a bird.
Right.
Cool. So let's start with Horus.
Okay.
Horus, kind of a protector, related to royalty, rightful king of Egypt and all that.
Mm-hmm.
He was depicted defeating Seth in battle. Horus was kind of in flight. Horus has wings. And Seth was kind of on the ground.
Okay. This does make me think of... I do think maybe when I was talking earlier about like birds of prey, I might have been thinking about Horus. That sounds kind of birds of prey to me. So I'm going to go with... Oh boy, I guess I don't know what kind of birds they have in Egypt. I'm going to say either a falcon or an eagle.
You're going to have to pick one, buddy.
I'm going to have to pick one? I'm going to go with falcon because I like falcons better.
Yep, you got it. Falcon.
Ooh.
Not exactly sure what species of falcon. It's just depicted, or Horus is depicted as a falcon. And I think that's pretty fitting.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. So Horus was depicted as a falcon whose right eye was the sun and the left eye was the moon, and whose flapping of his wings would create the winds.
Wow. That's a really good falcon. 1 for 1 here out of the gate.
One for one. I mean, you did do some prior reading, which I was unaware of.
This was maybe 20 years ago.
I mean, you cheated. I mean,
yeah,
it's fine.
my bad.
All right, cool. So yeah, 1 for 1, very good. These next ones, they're a little tricky though.
Okay.
Don't get your hopes up.
All right.
Again, these right. I'm just saying, I have all the faith in you, but
my hopes are on the
I
ground.
don't think you're gonna get this right.
My hopes are so low.
Cool. So then we go to Thoth. Thoth invented writing and became the scribe of the gods and recorded the passage of time, and was also instrumental in what souls were allowed and not allowed into the afterlife.
Okay.
A little story about that. Do you know the Judgment of Souls story with Anubis, with Thoth, with Ma'at?
I don't.
Okay, cool. I guess Riordan didn't get to that part. So yeah. Oh yeah, and also Thoth gave advice to pharaohs throughout history. Was kind of like the advisor. So, wisdom, knowledge, that kind of thing associated with Thoth. So, backtracking a little bit. The story of Osiris's resurrection led to everyday Egyptians, to seek life after death as well. This is why many Egyptians had very intricate tombs, more like royalty, pharaohs, with like offerings and different sacrifices, and their funerary rites were very important, like the rituals and whatnot. Mm-hmm. That is all to aid their souls into the journey to the underworld.
Nice.
So the souls would journey until they reached the chamber of Ma'at, the goddess of truth, and then the soul would be judged on its innocence and purity, and have its heart weighed on a scale by Anubis.
Oh, Anubis with the scales. That's like
Anubis with the scales. Yeah. Huge. And Thoth, I guess, never really like made any decisions, but was recording everything and was kind of like the scribe.
Okay.
Right? And the story goes, if the heart is heavier than the feather of truth... Oh, I should mention, the feather of truth came from Ma'at.
Also a bird.
It's very interesting. Ma'at, the depictions vary. Some picture it as a bird, but I think more often it's pictured as just a woman with the feathers of the bird adorned.
Ah, okay.
So yeah, if the heart was heavier than the feather of truth from Ma'at, then Ammit, an ancient Egyptian goddess with like the front 2 legs of a lion, the back legs of a hippo, and the head of a crocodile, would devour the soul and then would be erased from existence.
Oh, I mean, that sucks for the soul, but like, what a way to go out. Hardcore.
What a job, though.
I know.
It's probably eating a lot of souls.
I know.
So yeah, tough way to go, but that's how the cookie crumbles. That's what you get for having a heavy heart.
Yeah.
And if it was lighter, then Osiris would be the final judge to see if the soul was worthy for the afterlife. So you're not even out of the woods yet.
You gotta go through another stage after that.
Yeah. So what you've heard about Thoth, what bird do you think represents Thoth?
I mean, the one that immediately comes to mind, if we're talking about like knowledge, like keeping things like written history, I'm thinking of an owl, but I don't know if I should double down on birds of prey so quickly.
I don't know.
But I'm gonna stick with owl.
It's actually an ibis.
Oh, an ibis. Nice.
Ibises are really cool. We do get a couple of species here, like the glossy ibis.
Mm-hmm. The white ibis sometimes will make its way up here. Much more common in like southern parts of the United States.
Yeah, I think in Africa there's there's the sacred ibis, which has like the all black head.
Ooh, nice.
I feel like that. I don't know about like the
Probably.
history, if it dated that far back, but yeah, I feel like that's where the inspiration came from. It looks like a pretty wise bird to me.
Yeah, I mean, I love we don't see them very often. If we do catch them, they're normally just like flying overhead and not really landing. But I really like them. I'm gonna look at them a bit more reverence now.
Yeah, and then you know the ibis kind of has the curved bill.
Mm-hmm.
Thoth is also kind of associated with the moon. In the battle with Seth, Horus actually, his eye got injured. The eye associated with the moon, and Thoth helped heal that. So
nice.
And there is some association with like the curve of the bill, also like the crescent shape of the moon.
Right.
Kind of cool. So yeah, that's Thoth.
Very
I think
cool.
I think an ibis is fitting for something related to like wisdom.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad. I hadn't ever associated a bird like an ibis with any sort of like mythology, so that's cool to hear. Maybe owls is more of like a Western thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're African owls. That's a good point.
Yeah.
If you know, let us know.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can go to Ma'at from here. Ma'at comprised of, or like was the personification of truth, balance, order, morality, justice, which makes sense. The feather is used to judge whether a soul is worthy of getting into the afterlife or not. And Ma'at also, kind of similarly, also regulated the seasons, the actions of mortals. And if you remember, Atum made all of the deities initially to help save Ma'at from all the chaos that was in the universe. Nice. So also Ma'at is kind of associated with order.
Mm-hmm.
So what bird do you think kind of ties all that together?
Interesting.
It's not what you think.
It's not what I'd think. Okay,
No.
Let's see. I think I'm going to need a hint with this one. Is it larger or smaller than a crow?
Larger than a crow.
Larger than a crow. Okay. Boy, I mean, this is kind of exposing me. I don't know my African birds very well, so I'm going to have to go with like a general type of bird and not get too specific.
Not the exact species. That's fair.
No. But I want to go with something like maybe a crane. Is it a crane, a type of crane?
Crane's a great guess because cranes be balancing on their one
exactly.
foot. It's actually an ostrich.
Oh, nice.
Ostrich feathers.
Well, because they have to stick out their arms to balance when they run. That's great.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any association with like it being a flightless bird.
Right.
And Ma'at. Well, check this out. We're thinking over here live on the podcast.
Yeah, live.
Ma'at is associated with like the actions of mortals and is morality and like seems more grounded.
More grounded, yeah.
Into like reality and not
That's
like
right.
ascension, not
kind of on the
transcendence.
same, like literally the same plane. If
literally
we're
the same
saying,
plane.
Like, the Earth.
I think we're stumbling onto something
I think
here.
so. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I like that. That's great. Nice. Then we get to Geb, the god of Earth, created the Earth.
Mm-hmm. Was the judge?
The judge between the fight with Horus and Seth. And Geb's whole thing is also that of like a protector.
Mm-hmm.
And is also noted as specifically a protector that overlooks like the pharaoh.
Okay.
So overlooks Horus.
Okay.
Kind of a connection there, right?
Yeah.
Between Geb and Horus. So another interesting bird here. What do you think?
Well, there's a couple of different ways I could go with this, right? If we're saying like a protector connected to Horus, that leads me back to bird of prey. So maybe this is where I slide eagle in. But then, I don't know, if we're also talking about like a judge, the earth, maybe we're thinking about like a smaller bird. But, everything has been a pretty big bird so far, so I feel like I have to go with that until proven wrong. I'm going to say eagle for this one.
No.
Okay.
It's a goose.
A goose.
A goose.
Wow. I never would have guessed goose in a million years.
So from what I've read, the role of the goose in like everyday ancient Egypt was one of utility. Like it was a common bird to be eaten.
Right.
It was they use their feathers, stuff like that. So maybe kind of a connection there with being a protector of the pharaoh, creating the earth, literally utility. So yeah, Geb depicted as a goose.
Good. All right. Geese just keep rising in stocks, every day.
Yeah, people don't think about it. People are just like, oh, that's a goose, but they're a pretty major god in ancient Egyptian mythology. So take that, all you geese haters.
Yeah.
And even though this next one, Bennu, wasn't integral into our story, it is integral into like overall ancient Egyptian mythology. You mentioned Ra. Bennu's a little confusing. It seems to be an aspect of Ra,
Okay.
and also related to Osiris in some way.
Got it.
But yeah, Osiris, we know, has to do with the afterlife. Ra has to do with the sun, kind of like creation, rebirth kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So what bird do you think will represent that?
All right. If we're thinking afterlife, creation, rebirth, I mean, I feel like you could bring it a couple ways. You could bring it as like a scavenger, right? Like taking the dead and kind of repurposing them, sort of giving them new life in that, like a scavenger eats something that is dead and it provides them with sustenance in life. Or again, this might be like Western influences getting in there, but if I think about rebirth or birth and birds, I'm thinking about a stork. So I feel like my instinct has been wrong the last couple times though. So maybe instead of stork, I'll go with a scavenger and I'll go with a vulture.
Great guess. Heron.
Heron, okay.
Interestingly enough, they did find like a fossilized heron skeleton, and they think it's of a now extinct bird, but it could have been alive in the times that the ancient Egyptians were there.
Right.
But it seems to be now extinct, unfortunately.
All right, so it seems like there is kind of like a lot of water birds are showing up, right? We have the ibis, we have the heron, we have the goose.
I mean, you got the Nile River,
right?
And then all of civilization needs some water, right?
Right.
So yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even notice that. Ibis, heron. So yeah, as we can see, a lot of reverence for a lot of different types of birds in ancient Egypt.
Yep.
I mean, they're literally depicting a lot of their deities after them.
Yeah.
Very cool.
As they should.
As they should. But they didn't see all birds in such a way, though. Sparrows and other songbirds were considered pests and often associated with evil.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Evil sparrow. I mean, I guess we get some of that today.
I know, it just perpetuates until into today even. The house sparrow
makes you think. Maybe they are evil.
Maybe. I mean, if even the ancients were annoyed with them.
I know.
Maybe they're onto something.
Maybe. I don't know. I like sparrows. Juncos are types of sparrows, and
That's
I really
true.
like juncos.
We should do an episode on either singular sparrow or types of sparrows.
Yeah.
Because
overlooked.
Even when we're birding, I'm like, it's a sparrow.
I know the amount of times.
Do I know if it's a song sparrow, if it's a house sparrow? But we should pay attention to the sparrows. I feel like.
So.
But yeah, that's what I got for ancient Egyptian mythology. Maybe we'll go Greek, Hindu, find out next time we do an episode of mythology.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for leading that. I mean, it was I can't even say it was a reminder of those Rick Riordan books because I don't remember a single plot point from those, but really interesting to hear. Always love to hear about reverence for birds and really interesting birds chosen too. I feel like I'm so in the America, bald eagle, like those kind of symbolisms. I think less about like ibises and geese, and I'm glad that they're getting the love they deserve.
Yeah, I mean, I totally forgot about ibises. We've seen some. Excited to see some in the summertime here. Yeah. But ibis, super cool bird. I forgot about it, and that's on me, really. Yeah.
But never again.
Never again. Thoth, God of wisdom.
Yeah. All right. Thanks. Well, yeah. Let us know what type of mythology you'd like to hear Kesh cover next. Maybe it'll be this season. Maybe it'll be next season. Who knows? But nice to have kind of like that this is our first sort of like return episode, like back to an original theme that we did last season. So it's kind of fun, like a regular series.
Yeah, exactly. And then whenever inspiration strikes, we'll put out another one.
Yeah. Well, so that brings us to our final segment here, the closing call, the bird call quiz. We will each play a call for the other and try to guess what it is. We promised we would study, and we did not deliver. We did not study. But next time, for sure, we're studying.
Yes. Next time, for sure.
I believe the score right now is 3-2 to 1. If I'm putting producer Rochelle's score up there, too.
Am I up?
You're up. You're up by 1.
Tragic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was weird with Rochelle last time because we went in like a strange order.
We did go in a strange order, so...
I'll give you a bird call first because I think you gave it to Rochelle first last time.
Great. Okay, sounds good. Yeah, is that actually the call you're going with?
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you remember it, then you're golden. If you don't remember it, then you're kind of cooked.
All right, that is the... Oh boy, what is it? A throat? Is it a head? Is it a tail?
We literally went over it like an hour ago.
I know. A blue-throated barbet.
Nice, you got it.
All right, wow.
Classic Bangladesh, Eastern Indian bird. You know.
Really, you threw a really difficult one at me this week.
Yeah,
One
I mean, it's unfair of me. Like,
I
no
know.
chance of seeing it here. It was unfair of me. Yeah, honestly, but you got it.
I did get it. You tried to put it past me, but not this time. This isn't another wood duck situation. All right, well, I got one for you now.
Okay. Excuse me? Okay, so I think I'm going to swallows.
Oh,
I don't remember if we've done barn swallow or tree swallow in the past. Have I given you tree swallow?
I don't know. I'm not going to say.
Okay. Can you play it again?
Yeah, I'll play a different one.
Okay. Can you play the first one again?
I'll play the first one again.
All
Those
right.
clicks get you.
I feel like that should be distinctive. The second one, so I was thinking swallows, which, we see in large numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second one, you got like an isolated call, which is like throwing me off of it a little bit. Maybe it's not a swallow. But I don't have a better guess, so I'll just stick with my original thought and go with tree swallow.
So close.
Dang it.
It's a barn swallow.
Oh no! Barn swallow.
Hard to tell apart from a tree swallow, even when they're out and about. But yeah, a pretty interesting call there. A lot of variety in that one stretch of sounds.
Especially that little like click, click, click.
Yeah, the little click.
Yeah, we'll see them soon enough, I feel like.
We're seeing lots of tree swallows. Barn swallows are going to be shortly thereafter, I think.
Exactly. All right, well, a close one. And you got the hard bird.
Yeah, mine
the
was
blue-throated
really hard.
barbet.
Definitely not one we led the episode off talking about.
All right, so that's a 3-3-1.
3-3-1. We've evened it up. Tied for the lead. I think you did that on purpose, so you wouldn't have to be in the lead anymore. I see what you're trying to do.
Well, I genuinely thought it was. I thought it was fair because we did hear it an hour ago, but I feel like there was a chance you just forgot the name of it.
I was very close to forgetting the name of it.
Yeah, nice. Cool.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to another episode of The Birds Are Real podcast.
We'll see you all next time, hopefully with some hoot topics from y'all.
That's right.
Wink,
Send
wink.
us those emails, birdsarereal.pod@gmail.com. Send this to, I know that you're all Facebook friends with like your second grade teacher. One of your elementary school teachers added you on Facebook. You haven't talked to them in 20, 30 years. Send it to them.
Yeah.
No context. Just send them a link.
Yeah, this could be fruitful for us because we're gonna get another good rating likely, and you might rekindle an old connection.
Exactly.
So think about it that way.
Yep. Birds Are Real podcast.
We're rekindling long lost friendships.
You're welcome.